Hi, it's Bob from HeCooksForMe.com. Welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm going to put together a ranch pulled pork. We're going to use a pork butt roast to do our pulled pork today. The nice thing about these is they are relatively cheap. I don't know if you can see this, but I bought this one. It was under $1.70 a pound, and I think I even got this on a buy one get one deal. So maybe even under $1 a pound. But you can feed a large group for relatively inexpensive this way. We're going to put it in the crock pot all day long, so it gets to just be fall apart tender, and then shred it at the end. To get the pork ready, I'm just going to coat it in salt, pepper, turmeric, and paprika, and rub it all in, and then put it in the crock pot with half of an onion all diced up, some garlic, a can of chicken stock, and some ranch seasoning. So to get the roast ready to go in the crock pot, I just cover it and rub it all in with, this is salt, just regular table salt. I don't want kosher salt on this because it's actually a little bit too thick and creates salt pockets on it. This is paprika. Smoked paprika would actually also be really good on this roast, just to add some more flavor. You can add some cayenne pepper as well on this. This is the turmeric, so the yellow on it. And then black pepper. And then you do want to massage this in. You want all those flavors to mix in together and get into that meat. And I'm going to do this on all the sides of the roast. Your roast pretty much ends up looking like this. I kind of made a mess going around. Back to the cayenne pepper. I'm not putting any on this, and if you've been following along, you know that we like spicy. So a lot of times I would, but where this is such a big roast and we keep it to feed friends and family, we never know what they're going to like. So we can spice it up at the end with a barbecue sauce or something else like that as well. So I'm choosing not to cayenne this. If it was just for the two of us, of course I'd put some of that on there and give it a little more bite. Now that this is covered and rubbed in, I'm just going to put this straight into the crock pot. One other thing I didn't tell you, I don't trim any of the roast to begin with. I like all that fat in there. It renders into the liquids and everything else as this cooks all day and gives it a lot of flavor. So I don't like to trim any of the fat off of it to start. When I pull it at the end, that fat just naturally comes out, and I will get rid of the majority of that as I'm doing when I pull it. All those spices rubbed in there, that's a beautiful looking piece of pork roast. I'm going to just pour that whole can of chicken stock in, and I try not to pour it right over the top so that those spices don't wash off. And you can see that the 2 cups basically takes us up to the fill line that's in the crock pot. One thing you do need to watch out for, because this is going to go for 6 to 9 hours depending on how I choose to cook it. 6 to 7 on high or 8 to 9 on low. Is you don't want it to boil dry, obviously. The pork does add a lot of liquid back in as it's starting to cook off, so that helps quite a bit. So that's the 2 cups or the 1 can of chicken stock. I'm going to do 3 tablespoons of this ranch powder. That's the same amount that you get if you do one of the packets. So you can just use 1 packet over the top. We just always seem to have this powder on hand like this for different recipes. And you want to put this right on top, so as it cooks and gets hot, it'll soak down through all of that meat. This ranch really gives it a really good flavor, to the point that a lot of people don't even like barbecue sauce or anything on it. They just want to eat the meat as it is. I'm going to use 4 cloves of garlic and just mince those in as well. And then have the half of a yellow onion that I diced up fine, and I'll put it in as well. This too, you want to get a bunch of this down in that liquid, because that's how it's going to flavor this meat the best, is by being down in the liquid, not necessarily on the roast itself. And then onions kind of that same way. You want the majority of them to go down in. I don't put them in first because I don't want them on the bottom. They have a tendency to burn if you have it underneath the roast. So you definitely don't want to do it that way either. So you just kind of push them down in around the sides, and as it cooks in, These will soften and go down in as well. That pork roast also shrinks a little bit as it cooks. So now I'll just cover it, plug it in, and I'm going to do mine on high today for about 6.5 hours. Again, if you want to do the low, you can definitely do that as well. It takes 8 to 9. You almost can't overcook this. Because of the liquid in there and everything else. It just gets to where it's fork tender. The longer you cook it, the harder it is to get to come out because it all falls apart as you're taking it out. I'll show you that in several hours. The pork roast now is just falling apart tender in here. Because this is so big compared to my crock pot, I did have to roll it over about halfway through, maybe 4 hours into the cooking, just because the top wasn't getting done. Well, the bottom you can see is just falling apart. To take this out, I'm just going to start breaking off pieces and let it come out that way so that it will fall apart over here and just tear it apart on my board. I've just pulled out some chunks of that pork off the top that was well done, and I still have the rest bubbling away over here, and I'll just keep working on it as I can get through the whole roast. But to shred this, you'll see I just used 2 forks and it just pulls apart really super easy. That's how you know it's done. You want to keep as much of the seasonings on it as you can, but anything super fatty, if I get a big chunk of fat, I'll go ahead and pull that out. Just more a texture thing than anything else. Renee's a very textural eater and so does not like fat when she has a sandwich made out of the pulled pork or a plate of pulled pork. We'll actually serve this on buns for just a pulled pork sandwich, or on a plate, like a 1 meat barbecue plate with some sides, sometimes with barbecue sauce, sometimes without. The flavor in this with that ranch is really good, so it'll be great just on its own. You don't have to put anything with it. On the sandwiches, we like red onions. Sometimes jalapenos is an option on those red onion, or on the sandwiches with the red onions. And just a really versatile dish. I'll also take a bunch of this and just measure it out into 6-ounce single serving portions, and I'll keep it for lunches where I'll do it on a salad or as a sandwich or whatever for my lunches during a work week as well. As far as wine with this, natural with barbecue, any type of barbecue, is a Red Zin, an American Red Zin. It has a little bit sweeter and a higher alcohol content, so it really deals with some spicy. The barbecue sauces that we prefer are usually the spicy with a little sweet instead of the sweet with a little spicy. So the Zin goes really well with that. If you're just going to eat it as the pork this way, a Merlot would go great with this. Cab would probably be a little bit too heavy, and then you can also get into the flavors of an Italian wine or a French blend from the Bordeaux region or into the Côte d'Or. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, and consider hitting that red subscribe button. It really helps if you can share my videos with friends and family that might be interested, or watch some of the other videos on my channel. I hope this dish, or one of my other featured dishes, finds its way into your kitchen soon.